Welcome, fellow samurai copy warriors. Do you have your swords pulled out and sharpened? Let's hope so. I'm John Benson, the sales copy samurai and the godfather of the video sales letter. People call me the $1 billion copy coach because I've helped people earn almost $1 billion in revenue from sales copy. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, sales copy as it relates to emails. And I think that you should think of your emails as sales copy that is delivered in person, or at least cyber person, to your prospects. And most people don't think of emails in that way. Most people think of emails as a way to simply communicate a message to a prospect or to your buyers. And not that that's a bad thing. It is a great thing to do. However, I want to encourage you to think of email strategically at least twice during a month, using a tip I'm going to give you in just a few minutes. That's going to help you monetize your email list, make more money from it, and earn raving fans at the same time. You're still going to give good information. You're still going to send out emails that are relevant. You're just going to do them in a specific way that's utilizing a few ninja tactics with words and stuff that I want to share with you today. Now, there's too much to go over in one podcast. So just bear in mind, I'm going to be doing a series on this stuff. So you'll be able to learn a lot more as the weeks and months go by. And I'm also coming out with a book on this subject that is going to be revealed in this podcast. I'll tell you where to get it. But for now, we're going to just dive into some secrets. But before I do that, I have to say this. In order to monetize your sales page, you have to have a sales page. And if you don't have a sales page, that means either you don't have a product to sell, or maybe you have a sales page and it sucks, which we talked about in the podcast last week, or maybe you just haven't got around to it. So let's just assume for a moment that you don't even have a product to sell. Okay, I want you to have a product to sell even if you're an affiliate marketer, because that's the way you make the gold. You make the gold from the products that you sell. It's a good business model to have affiliate offers that you can promote. But in the end game, it's going to be the person with the voice that matters. Like we talked about last week, if you don't have a voice that lasts, a message that resonates, you're going to die. You're going to go the way of the dinosaurs, the internet dinosaurs. And internet years are much, 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 much shorter than dog years. So a year on the internet is like 1,000 years in dog years or something like that. So you really have to know, you have to get this down. You need something to sell, and you need a product. The best way to get a product, if you don't have one, is an info product, and I have something I want to give to you for free today. It's called the 28-Day Product Creation Formula. Now, this is only going to be available for a few weeks at the time of this recording. So if you're past that point, go ahead and go to this page, but it may not be available for free. Until then, you can get it for free. It's $297 retail, and I want to give it to you just to help you create a product in 28 days. And within that product creation formula, you'll find my 7-day ebook formula, which is a great way to write a book in 7 days flat, and the whole 28 days to take you from a concept, even if you don't know what you want to create, to actually having this online making money for you. Okay? I can't guarantee the money, of course, but if you do everything right, there's no reason why you can't do this, make money online. And even if it's a few dollars a day, hell, it'll get you started. That's what you need. You need to get the ball rolling. So here's how you get a hold of that right now. I want you to text 3X, the number 3 and the letter X, to area code 424-238-0222. Don't worry, I'm not going to be calling and spamming you or anything like that. I'm just using this to send you via text a link where you can get this for free. If you're in the United States and you just hate thumbing around on your smartphone like I do, you can text 3X to 58885. That's 58885. And you will receive a message that says, please type in agree, because we're all FTC friendly around here. So we want to make sure that you're agreeing to it. And once you agree, you'll get an email right back from me, or rather a text, saying, hey, thanks a lot. Just let me know your first name and your email, and then I will send this right to you. And this will get you started creating a product faster than any other thing I've ever seen in my life. I've created lots of products online. I've created millions of dollars in products online for ClickBank that are informational products, as well as, of course, 3X VSL, which is the best copywriting training in the world, especially for video sales letters. And you're going to need that if you don't have a sales page, or even if you do, you need it, because everyone needs a video sales letter to convert the highest converting mechanism that you can possibly have. And if nothing else, you need the psychology of the sales that I teach in that course. You can learn more about that with some free videos at 3X 3xvsl.com. That's the number 3, by the way. X, V is in video, S is in sales, L is in letter. How about that? 3xvsl.com. Okay, now that we got all of that out of the way, let's dive into 3 samurai email tips. And guess what? That's a little bit of a lie because there's more tips than 3. I just broke them into 3 categories of tips. There's a lot of little tips inside these tips. So get ready to write on something. And if you don't have anything to write with, that's cool. You can just listen to this over and over again until it's embedded into your cerebellum. It's like drifting through your blood veins and it's coming out your fingertips. That's what we really want to do, all right? So 3 samurai email tips. Apply these strategies to your emails and your personal banker will be sending you holiday turkeys by mail. No kidding. Okay, tip number 1, a 4-day email sequence. And the purpose of the sequence is to make sure that your user is trained to click. One of the biggest mistakes I see email marketers make that are really ethical people, they really want to deliver content, which is great, I'm the same way, is that they deliver that content with nothing to click except an unsubscribe link. That's not a good idea. That's not good business. It's good customer relations, but it's not good business. So here is the way to get both, okay? I'm going to tell you the sequence that I use. Now, you want to use the sequence 1 to 2 times a month. You don't want to over promote to your list because that will burn your list out. So here's what I do during the sequence. Okay, your first day is your pitch day. Let's say that it's a Monday, a good day to send something out. Let's say that you have something that you're wanting to sell to your list. Maybe it's your book, maybe it's your video course, maybe it's your affiliate product, whatever it is. Send a short email with only a few links. That's all you got to do. And I'm going to give you a tip about links later, but the long and short of it is something like we covered last week as well. It's called congruency. Make sure your links are congruent. And an easy way to do that is to make your link the subject line, especially if your subject line is a high open rate. So if you're looking at a high open rate subject line and you know it's good, use that as your link text. We already know people have clicked on it, right? Right. So it's a good idea to what? To test your subject lines. Test 2 or 3 or 4. GetResponse is an email service provider that I have used that allows you to split test. There are others. Aweber does as well. So just split test your subject lines, figure out the one that people click on the most, and then when you figure that out, that's what you change your link text to. Pretty clever idea. Rather than click here or something like that. Okay? Now you can have a click here at the bottom, like a PS, that's fine, but use the congruent links inside your offer. Now remember, this is a short email. We're talking 2 or 3 paragraphs at the most. People don't like to read long emails unless they're very strategically written. Then they can be real pleasures to read. We're going to cover that here in just a bit. Day 2 is related content that relates to day 1. So if you send out a pitch about how to buy a better dog food container thing, how's that for a product that doesn't exist? And so day 2 might say, hey, guess what? There is something that I really learned about dog food container things, and I didn't include it in my last email. I just forgot. So here's what this is. It's all about blank, whatever that may be. Maybe it's the color of the container that dogs love the most. And say, I wrote an article about it on my blog here. I know you're busy, so just click here to read it. And what this does is deliver the long content email that you want to deliver that prepares them for the next 2 days without doing a hard pitch. In fact, you're not doing any pitch at all. That's okay. There are 2 reasons why. Number 1, you're training your users to click something. That's a very good thing to do. Click here to read the rest of this blog post. Number 2, well, actually, I'm going to give you 3. Number 2, you are making your blog more relevant to Google, which is great. That will increase your traffic on Google, your organic search traffic, your Google indexing, all that kind of nifty SEO stuff. And number 3, you can monetize your blog. You can monetize your blog with banner ads from affiliates, with ads from your product, etc. Just don't overdo it in their face. It's just there, sitting on the side. You may make a few sales. If you have a large list, you make a few dozen sales. But you've delivered content without any sort of pitch whatsoever in the content. And it trains your user to click. Day 3, which should come the next day or the day after, so you have 2 emails back to back, then you wait a day. Then day 3 is a kind of PS style email. I've used the subject line PS before. I forgot to tell you this or whatever, but you can use a subject line that's related to that. Oh, I need to tell you one more thing. And this is this. This is a very cool thing. This is this. How's that for grammar? This is this. I should be a copywriter. No, I should be an English teacher. No, I should be both. Okay, to do this, do this with me. I want you to say out loud, not competitive information. Okay, complimentary, not competitive. You're going to need to really drill that into your brain for this one. I want you to send a link to a free download of something that is complimentary but not competitive to the product that you are pitching. Back to the dog food container thingamajiggy. You might say, hey, I found 5 great stores that sell this thing, and they also have nifty dog leashes. I put together a complimentary report for you that will allow you to see the leashes that they sell. Okay, so I'm making this up completely, obviously. So dog leashes, not competitive with dog food container thingies. It's complimentary. Give that information away with a link inside the information to go, hey, you're going to need the dog food container thing too, so go over here. So it is a pitch, but it's a pitch from a PDF that they download. Or if you want to do it on a blog, you can, but I like to do it in different modalities. So now you have a PDF to download. That's pretty cool. Now, think of this as stuff that they need to do, have, look, or whatever before they buy the main product. That's the trick here. And then day 4, which should come 1 or 2 days later, is the killer. This is a long form email. People don't believe people read long emails anymore. That's not true. I hear marketers say all the time, oh yeah, I just put a few lines and a link. That's going to last a few months before your list says, screw you, dude. I mean, you're just a spammer. That's not going to last. You need to build your emails like the way you build your sales pages, like the way you build your products, like the way you build your business. You need to build it to last. Not something that's going to be just a flash in the pan. It's going to make you a few bucks today. It's going to make you broke in a few months because you're going to spend those few bucks. You want to do this for life, right? Or not for life, but you want to do it for the long haul. So day 4 is a longer copy email that follows, no surprise here, my 5-step video sales letter formula. It's just condensed into an email. Now, obviously, it's not a script that's 40 minutes long. It's a highly condensed version of this. So we're talking about maybe 500 words at the outside, okay? Not an extremely long email, but it has to be engaging and entertaining to even be that long. Now, you're going to need to know what that formula is. And I'm not going to describe it here because it's too long to go into in a podcast, but I've got free videos for you that tells you all about that formula. And then you can just take that formula and you can condense it and make it an email. And it's awesome. Get creative because the first thing you're going to do is you're going to interrupt their pattern. So it's going to be a subject line that's going to come out of nowhere. And a great way, by the way, I'll give you this one tip. A great way to have a pattern interrupt is to ask a question at the very beginning line of your subject line, very beginning of your email. Ask a question that's not really relative to what they think it's about. So let's say it's about selling dog food container thingies. You might ask a question, have you ever noticed that the sun sets in the east? Okay, well, it doesn't, right? It rises in the east, right? So this is what you're getting someone to think, right? Something very obscure like that. And inside you say, well, obviously the sun doesn't set in the east, it sets in the west. But have you ever thought that you were pointing in the wrong direction? Well, you can sometimes be pointing in the wrong direction when it comes to pet care. So that's the gig. You see it? That's the gag. That's what you want to do. Now, that's just step 1 of the 5 steps. You want to create a pattern interrupt. That's definitely a pattern interrupt. I did that off the top of my head, as some of you copywriters out there are going, yeah, John, you did that off the top of your head. We can tell. But it was still not bad. Get all 5 of those steps by going to 3X, V as in Victor, S as in sales, L as in letter. Victor sales letter. No, it's video sales letter. 3X video sales letter. 3xvsl.com. Just go there. And you'll opt in, and I will send you the 4 videos that will teach you this 5-step sequence. And then just condense it, make it smaller, and ta-da, you have a really badass email. And no one does this on day 4. Now, you can include a day 5, which is like the end of the week. You can do like a, hey, this is your last chance to get something. But this is the meat of the 4-day sequence. Try that out for style and see what happens with your clicks. I guarantee you're going to see a lot more clicks to your offer, and I think you're going to see a lot more engagement. And the reason why the engagement is so important is because you're wanting to do this over the long haul. You want to keep people engaged, and the only way that you can keep people engaged is to entertain them without being too entertaining. Let me explain what I mean. You're not a comedian. There's a saying that comedy never sells. Humor can be a good way of selling something if you're Madison Avenue. Back to the thing we talked about last week. You're not into freaking advertising. That's not what you do. You are a marketer. You're not an advertiser. Advertisers like to make people chuckle. Oh, look at the panda with the Diet Coke, blah, 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 blah. Well, they don't need to get a direct response out of that. They don't need to measure exactly how many people saw the panda ad. It's not really a panda. I think it was a polar bear or something, and went and bought a Coke. All they need to do is see Coke sales go up or down. And that could be caused by anything. That's why Madison Avenue guys have the easiest jobs on earth when it comes down to this stuff. You guys, direct marketers, us, direct response marketers, we have it tough. And we're the guys that they rip off, by the way, because they're not nearly as creative. So there you go. You need to be more creative. I'm giving you ways to do it. So check out 3xvsl.com for more ways to do that. Okay, on to tip number 2. And like I said, this is really tips condensed into this one overview tip. And the overview tip is simple. Badass subject lines. Okay? People will click on really cool subject lines. Here's the gag. They don't click on gimmicky subject lines more than once or twice. So if you use one, I'm going to give you a couple of gimmicks to use. Don't use it more than once a month. If you do, you'll watch your open rates just decline like crazy. But they will most certainly click on some gimmicky subject lines. What I mean by gimmicky, by the way, is not selling something that is completely not true or whatever. What I mean by gimmicky is, for example, the first name only of the person. And this is Dean Jackson, the Marketing Buddha. He's a badass marketer, really awesome email marketer, gave me this tip. He just puts the first name in the subject line. So if your name is David, it would just say David. Think about how many emails do you get that just say your first name? Hardly any, if at all. Well, this is a great way to get someone to open your email. I would not use this more than once, maybe at most twice a month. Don't overuse it, otherwise people will stop clicking on it. That will lose its effectiveness. Another cool subject line, and this is very well documented, most of you advanced marketers or even intermediate marketers know this, is the use of numbers. If you don't know this, watch what happens to your open rates. So let's say that you have a subject line that says, the worst food you can eat. And you change that to the 7 worst foods you can eat. You know what your open rate's going to do? It's going to up to double. Something about numbers appeals to people. Then if you remove the word the and make it 7 worst foods to eat, it's going to go up even further. The very first character being a number is what really kills it. Okay? And if you add the word ever in all caps at the end of the email, I don't like to use all caps a lot, but for this it works. 7 worst foods to eat ever. Okay, you've got a really samurai subject line there, pal. So check that out. The use of numbers, the use of the first name only, and the use of odd keyboard characters, or any keyboard character, for example. The arrow characters work, but there's a whole list of cool keyboard characters. Just Google it. They're like keyboard icon characters that will show up in subject lines. They will show up in email copy, and that can be everything from a heart to a smiley face to some bizarre symbol, anything that gets their attention. But again, that's all gimmicky stuff, and you don't want to use it more than a few times. Now, here's stuff that you're going to want to use not all the time, but much more frequently. For one thing is negative subject lines versus positive. So back to my example of the worst food you can eat. It's a lot better than the best food you can eat. Again, going back to last week, if you haven't listened to last week's podcast, you probably are picking up now that you really should listen to it. And that little voice in your head saying, I really should listen to that, is your higher conscious. It is telling you the truth. You should listen. You should listen. You should listen to it again if you listen to it more than once. But it is true. We are, for the most part, much more responsive to negativity than positivity in marketing. So when you see the 7 worst foods you can ever eat or eat ever versus 7 awesome foods that will help you feel better, guess which one is going to get the higher open rate most of the time. So interchange this, though. Go to, if you email 3 days a week, think of 2 negative emails and 1 positive email and see what happens there. So you can use this more frequently than you can use the gimmicky stuff, but think of copy in a negative way. Think of what they need to avoid. Think of things that can scare them. Think of things that they need to really pay attention to. Otherwise, the boogeyman is going to get them. Make sure it's true. Make sure it's ethically solid. People will open the email more. Now, there's a lot more to subject lines than I can cover in this one podcast. I am coming out with a book on this very subject of email opens and email clicks and email conversions. And it's going to be located at 3xvsl.com. If you are listening to this now, you can go there and you'll probably see a link for it, and it will take you to that book. And I guarantee you that book is going to be killer because I have interviewed a lot of the pros here, guys that are doing awesome email stuff. I mean, killing it, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses online with email. I picked their brains, and I have a very good business online, as you might imagine, from email. So I've got a lot of my own ninja stuff in there. And I'm going to give you one more uber awesome, cool little ninja trick that you can use right now. And this is going from ninja to samurai. I'm going to bump it up because ninja is lower than samurai. Did you know that? It is. Here's the trick. Here's what you want to do. Send out an email with a video. It's a graphic of a video. And that's the only link on the page. And it says, click this video to watch. Now, obviously, guess what this means? You have to send them to a video. Preferably a video sales letter, and you know where to go for a video sales letter now, 3xvsl.com. But if you do have a video, or if you do have a video sales letter, you take a screenshot of it, and here's the trick. Now, people have done this before. I was one of the first guys to do that, by the way. But here's the really cool trick. Ready? You want to gray it out and put the words, let me see more, or see more, inside the graphic of the video. So you can maybe see, if it's a live video, you see a person, but it's grayed out. If it's text, it's kind of grayed out. So it gives this, that conveys this sense of like mystery. I want to see what it is. Maybe even do like a silhouette image of something. So you make it kind of under the radar, secretive, private. That's another thing you can do is you can put the word private across the email. It's really cool if it is private. So maybe it's on a private blog or something. That is a high click-through trick. Very, very solid. And if you want to go to the absolute samurai, absolute pinnacle of samuraiism, that's a new word, by the way. Thank you very much, John. You're welcome, John. Here's what you do. Because this has to be an HTML thing, obviously. So inside the HTML, there are alt tags, ALT, okay? And you can tell an HTML browser what to show up in case the image, what text to display in case the image doesn't show up inside of their email browser or inside of a web on their web page. So there's an alt and there's a title tag. Make them both the same, and then do something really cool like click here to see this, to show me more. Click here to see more. Click here to find out what this video is all about. You can actually make that display so you know if you have your email and your email is set like mine is, not to show images on default, you'll see a box, a white box, and it will say click here to see this image. So it literally tells them what to do. And when it clicks there, guess what it does? It takes them to the video sales page or whatever you were going to. So that is a really cool trick that, I pioneered that one, and it does work for clicks. So there you go. There's some awesome stuff to do within email and subject lines. And I've got one more for you. And this one is a tip. And it's one that it's going to bump conversions a little bit, like 15 to 20%, but you want every percent points that you can get. I call this equidistant formatting. And all that means is that you want your emails, for the most part, this is not carved in stone, but you want some of your emails, I would say the majority of them, maybe 50, 60% of them, to go in this format. You want, like, for example, if you use 3 paragraphs in your opening text, but by the way, I don't think you should ever use more than 3 paragraphs, ever. So if you use 3 paragraphs of your opening copy and then put a link, your next paragraph should be 3 paragraphs with another link. And then 3 paragraphs and a link. P.S. You can do 1 paragraph, then a link. That's equidistant spacing. So when you look at the email on the screen, it looks like text, link, and it looks really nice and concise. Believe it or not, your eye is drawn to those kind of patterns. So the links stand out more. And again, the links can be the exact same thing as the subject line, assuming your subject line is awesome. So that's going to really help your email opens and clicks, by the way, because people will get used to seeing it and they'll say, oh, it's formatted nicely. Now, here is where I want to throw in a few cents about HTML email. I think it sucks. Okay. Why do I think it sucks? Well, obviously the ugly video says I would naturally think HTML and pretty email would suck. Wrong. It's because most studies show, not all, but most, that HTML graphic heavy email gets lower open rates when sent from an individual or a smaller company than from a brandable company. So, for example, if Ford Motor Company sends you an HTML email, that's what you're expecting. If Joe Blow sends you an HTML email, you're thinking, this guy's trying to sell me something. So let me ask you a question. Would you send your best friend an HTML formatted email with a template, the header, and you've got your nice glamour shot look in the face, look going on, you're staring off into the sky, as if nothing's going on, and your pretty little logo in the corner. No, of course you wouldn't do that, right? Well, you have to treat your list as a direct response marketer as if they were all your best friends. You remember, you're talking to one person, not to 1,000 or 100,000. You're talking to one person. So how do your friends email you? Hey, dude, what's up? Want to go out tonight? Question mark. Usually very short, right? So short emails do work, especially if they're to the point like that. The gimmicky short ones don't. But if you're saying, hey, I got something you'd be very interested in. This is something I really have been using lately, and I've been using it a lot. It's been helping me drop the pounds. Go check this out. Click. That email right there works very, very well for weight loss, obviously. But you don't want to do that all the time. The point is, you certainly don't want to look like you're coming from some corporate world all the time with your email. That looks really, really ridiculous. And it saves you time and money not having to format a banner, not having to mess with that kind of stuff. Plus, here we go with the ninja tip. The ninja tip. No, this is actually a samurai tip. I'm going to bump it up to samurai class because this is really pretty badass. Okay, iPhones and iPads. 50 to 60% of your users this year alone are going to be on mobile devices. What's the first thing you see on your iPhone when you get an email? You see whatever the first thing in the email is. If it's a banner graphic, what shows up? Well, if you're savvy HTML editor, you can make alt text show up, right? Kind of like what we just described. But wouldn't you rather have that first sentence show up that has maybe a very pattern interrupt style question to it, or a hit them over the head first line? Yes, that's what you want. That's what you want, because that's going to have them open that far faster than a graphic heavy email would. Plus, graphics just slow down the email load. Plus, I can keep going on why graphics just don't work very well in emails. I suggest that you avoid them. At least give this a shot first. If you have a high brand image, you might be stuck with it. But even then, you can use just a little logo. And here's a savvy tip. If you have to use a brand, put your brand at the bottom of the email, not at the top. Because again, what's the first thing people see on their iPhones, smartphones, or for that matter, in their desktop email client? Well, they see the subject line, and then they see your first few words, right? So why make it a banner? Make it something that's actually readable, something that somebody might want to read and click on and go check it out. That is a cool samurai tactic. Okay, back to the equidistance formatting, and then we're going to call it a day. I want you to use the subject lines, like I said, unless it's a gimmick subject line. And then here is my samurai tip of the day. I pioneered this strategy back in 2010, and it was in a course that I taught, and very few people know about this because I think only like 500 people bought this damn course of mine. So, because we're good marketers and don't know how to market our own stuff, right? That's actually a lot of people for the price that they pay. But here's the trick. Ready? Your PS. What do you do when you get an email that's got a PS? Or for that matter, a sales page, which is why I prefer video sales letters over sales pages. You scroll down to the PS, don't you? Your PS should be really awesome, because that's what most people are doing. When they see PS, they're going to scroll right down to it. So what I like to do in my PSs is to either summarize my entire email, or, this is the samurai tactic of the day, I say, as you read in my 7th sentence, or as you read in my 3rd paragraph, 2nd sentence, you have to do this in order to succeed at blank. So what's that going to make someone do? They're going to reread your email. Even if they read it and got to the PS, they're going to go back to that 7th sentence in your 3rd paragraph or whatever it is. Make it that specific, but don't tell them what it is. Just tell them that if you do that what I mentioned in the 2nd paragraph's 3rd sentence, you will succeed. What are you going to do? You're going to scroll back up and reread that line now, aren't you? Yes, you are. And so is your user. And here's the trick. After that line is exactly where your link should be. So it should be the last line of a paragraph right before your link. They will read it. They will see the link. And if you want to experiment, I've seen this work several times, and it can work for you. Make that particular link relevant to that particular sentence. So when they read the sentence, and maybe the sentence says, you really need to walk your dog at night. I really like dogs, by the way. That's why I keep using dogs as my example copy here. If you walk your dog at night, your dog will live longer. And then the link will say, tips for walking your dog at night and making your dog live longer, or whatever. Make that congruent with what they just read and then refer back to it in your PS. People will read your email not once, but twice. And in many cases, once because they didn't read it at all the first time. Now that is some samurai shit right there. And that will really help you out in monetizing your emails, especially if you're sending to a sales page that kicks ass. And I want to give that to you. So be sure to go to 3xvsl.com, opt in, get those free videos. You'll learn more about sales pages and video sales pages than you'll probably ever learn in your life unless you already know a lot about them. And even if you do know a lot about them, I guarantee you there's some things in there that will teach you that will definitely make your conversions better. And if you're really bold, go through the product. Go through the 3X VSL course, the formula, and go through the generator, the software that I've created that makes creating video sales letters online almost automatic. I'll tell you all about it on 3xvsl.com. And until next time, keep your copy sword sharp.